Crawford leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to ask Mr. Jackie Carmichael to come up and offer the invocation.
Let's pray together. Father, we're so very thankful for every day of life and with each challenge that we have and each opportunity. Father, thank you for this school board. Lord, thank you how you've equipped them, Lord, and you've given them capabilities. And Lord, we just pray together, God, that you would give them wisdom and knowledge, Lord, and insight in every decision made. And Father, I personally thank you for Putnam County, all that you've done, and Lord, all that you have in store for them. But especially, Father, for the students, Lord, this is what it's all about, that you would motivate them to want to learn. And Father, equip them just to be successful in life and be responsible people in our communities. So bless them, Father. And again, thank you for capable people like those on our school board, Father. Bless them and bless our county in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'll ask once again that all board members turn off their cell phones. And people in the audience would be nice too. But that's fine. If you are interested in speaking or addressing the board, if you would see Sharon over here or Deborah Shepherd, either one will hook you up with a speaking card. This is your last chance, Mark. Get up and speak. Okay. Moving right along, we come to the consent agenda. If there are no public comments, there are no public comments, right?
Just give me a minute.
Give you a minute.
Please.
All right, I'll just kind of wing it.
Yeah, that would good.
Miss Crawford won a cake at a cake sale in Steinhatchee. No, I made that up, didn't I? I'm trying to give her some time to get her packet.
I'm good.
All right, she's ready. Now we'll get down to business here. That was a joke, Jane. Anyway,
Well, I didn't get it.
consent agenda has been presented. Does the board have any items they would like to pull from the consent agenda?
I do. C7.
Say it again.
C7.
Okay.
And I do.
What would yours be?
E, 2 and 3, please.
E.
E.
E2 and 3. Ms. Crawford, do you have any?
No, I don't.
Mr. Wright?
No, I'm fine. Mr. Chair?
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I move we accept the consent agenda minus C7 and E2 and 3.
All right, I'll need a second.
Second.
I have a second from Ms. Jorgensen. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. All right, we'll go to C7. Ms. Cummings.
And I apologize, I tried to get an answer before the meeting, and I'm asking that one portion of that be tabled. I emailed Mr. Douglas, but I'm sorry you probably didn't even get it. I was really hoping to get an answer before the meeting. Basically, the invoice involving the EDGE and all the correspondence that we are being charged. I did speak to the charter school representatives at DOE as far as our fiscal responsibility for that, and I didn't get a solid answer. The person is out of town till Thursday, who would be that person, because my concern is moving forward as this agreement continues to happen. It's our bill. We're paying, it's almost $2,000, and I do not feel that that's our fiscal responsibility. So I'm asking that bill be tabled for now, and if not, then, well, I'm just not going to vote for it, so.
Are Douglas and Hedstrom representing us, the school board, at these meetings with the charter school?
Yes, the problem is, I feel like, and after talking to a couple of the directors at that charter school DOE department, I feel like a little bit more of the responsibility should be held on the board of the charter school. As for instance, the agreement, the CAP, I felt like this was something that their board would present to our board, and we would, I know we're supposed to collaborate, but if they present it in a way, then we would say, okay, this is your desire, yes, we would approve it. The problem is that our board attorney is spending hours and lots of time making sure that their board follows the state statute, when I feel like they should have their own attorney present that. So it just becomes a continual billing problem. The other problem I have is that now that we agreed and Mr. Hedstrom, Mr. Douglas did all the work, now the Edge board wants to change their CAP just because they want to add something and the state doesn't agree. So I'm like, wait a minute. So we spend almost $2,000 to present the CAP, and now they've asked for us to change that. And so we're going to have to go back, and our attorney's going to be the one responsible for making all these changes to the DOE, and we're going to be billed for it. So I just have and until I get an answer from Adam, that's the guy in charge, he's out of town, but I did speak to 2 other ladies at the DOE. I don't know, I just feel like it's really tough to put it on the public's, our constituents to pay this bill when I don't feel morally it's the right thing to do. So I'm asking the item be tabled.
Are you making that?
Second or a motion?
Are you making that in form of a motion?
Yes, I'm making a motion.
Let me
to
just give you a brief update. I met this morning. I thought it was going to be the entire board, but it wasn't an entire board meeting. It was me as the board chair, district staff, superintendent, and Mr. Douglas. And we met with Pat Freeman from the Edge board. We met with Ms. Parsons. And we went over many of the issues that you just addressed. They delivered a $14,000 check to Ms. Criswell that they owed for transportation expenditures. We were very pleased to receive that. It was talked about during that meeting that Mr. Douglas write a letter on their behalf, and then it became imperative, or then we decided it wouldn't be appropriate for him to write a letter. It would be appropriate for them to have an attorney write a letter. And I really haven't followed it closely on this invoice at this time. I didn't read particularly what you read, but I think that we requested that Mr. Douglas do this on our behalf. Now, it's up to the board if you guys want to table it. I don't have a problem with that. You can come back and talk about it, but I would feel like that Mr. Douglas, as the St. Johns County School Board with the
First Coast
First Coast Tech would have used Mr. Upchurch or their attorney over there to I'm sure it was billed for their research, just to keep us in line with state statute. But being that as said, I mean, whatever your pleasure is.
Well, you're talking about FEFP from this pocket or that pocket. Either we pay the attorney or they do, and it's still FEFP, it's still the taxpayers' money. That's one way I look at it. And also, I feel like we started this whole
Yeah,
thing.
we're the ones that are requiring this deal with the charter school.
Exactly.
Well,
By state
I,
law, by
No.
state.
By state law,
That's-
they
Yeah.
are
By state
required
law,
to do a
yeah.
corrective
Right,
action
right.
plan.
No, I
That's
thought
what
we
the
had to
CAP
together.
is, a corrective
Yeah, it
action
has to
plan,
be
just so the
together.
general
Well
public
said.
knows what
And
that is.
It's already been submitted and attended, and
And it was actually Adam Emerson, who is the Director of Charter Schools for the Department of Education, who said now that they have changed their number of days, that we had to readdress the corrective action plan. So DOE requested that. Pat Freeman did request the meeting that we had today. I don't know, it's kind of uncharted territory. We've
Right.
never been in this position before. It's a kind of a learning experience. And certainly, Ms. Cummings, I totally understand where you're coming from. Even though it's taxpayer dollars, the Edge board should probably be responsible for that, because we wouldn't be meeting and doing this if they weren't in the position that they're in.
Which
And
is a
so-
financial hardship, so
Yes.
we're gonna make them pay.
But we have two,
Yeah.
well, yeah, they have gotten themselves straightened out enough that they could give us a $14,000 check today. They have a plan for moving forward, but we have two other charter schools that have never been in this position, and they were able to not only stay in the black, but even purchase buildings and move forward. Edge is having a problem with that for whatever reason. That's not our fault. They get the same kind of money the other charters do. We're trying our best to work with them and have for some time. You guys have been more than gracious and kind and helpful. However, that charge that you're talking about comes out of our budget that we didn't budget for because we weren't expecting this. And yes, they're having financial problems. So what is the answer? DOE, excuse me, Department of Education. We use initials the average person doesn't understand. Department of Education isn't going to tell us how to handle this. So it truly is up to the board and whatever your pleasure is.
But Douglas and Hedstrom has done the work that we've asked them to do, so they need to be paid for it.
Yes.
And we asked them
Yes.
to do it.
Yeah.
And as we discussed that this morning, once again, we did say that this shouldn't be, the cost should not be borne by our attorney, it should be off their, they get their attorney.
So y'all discussed that this morning?
did, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, because a letter needs to
Good.
be written, because our concern about what they were presenting to us with the 4 days, there probably aren't 10 charter schools in the whole state that are doing 4 days. There are no public schools because Palatka High tried to do that a
Howard
few
School 10
years
years.
ago.
Yeah.
And they were told, no, you're not going to get your FTE if you do that. The state statute says 180 days of school. And then there are a particular number of hours or minutes that students have to complete to get their credit hours
Right.
in high school. And there's also a particular number of minutes to the day for FTE. So there's a difference there. And so although they say they're going to meet both, we as a board or a school district cannot verify that, because once the data is sent to them, which we are required to do, the comptroller, the Department of Education, they look at the data that comes in and they make that determination in October and February.
Right.
And those are the two times that they look to determine our FTE.
And so what's going on
And
in
so
between
what
those times?
we could not get Adam Emerson, who is the director of charter schools for the state, to put in writing that what they are doing with these 4 days is okay and meets the letter of the law for the minutes. He didn't say they weren't, but he didn't say they were, and he wouldn't give us anything in writing. He has talked to other people at the department, but we still have no definitive answer. Edge wants to move forward. Mr. Buckles and I both said to them, we want you to do whatever it is you want to do. We want you to be successful. But what we need you to understand is in October, when they do that FTE count, if at that time somebody at DOE decides to tell you what you're doing is not going to get you the full FTE, and we as a district can't give you the full amount of money for your 100 students, we want you to be well aware that that's a possibility, and we have no control over it. And that's all I wanted, was for them to be aware. I think they intend to move forward with what they're doing, and we'll just wait and see what happens. In the course of that, Mr. Buckles talked about a letter that they should write and send to DOE, explaining what they're doing, explaining the conversations they've had with us and the conversations they've had with Mr. Emerson at the department, and just make everything very clear and send that letter. They ask us to have our attorney write that
That's
letter,
the whole
and we
thing
said no.
is-
I told them, I said, no, I don't
We're
think that's
starting that
appropriate.
precedent,
You are a charter school. Your attorney should do that letter for you or with you. And I think they finally agreed to that. That makes sense. So that, I think,
We've
is going to
done what we need to
happen.
do,
But in
and
the
they do-
meantime, trying
Yeah,
to
and that's-
navigate these very different waters than what we've been in before.
Correct.
Mr. Douglas has done a great job of helping us, through all of that and trying to decipher and figure
Yep,
it
we didn't
out.
know what we
And
were
he has
doing.
done the work. Somebody had to do it, and we didn't make it clear to them that we would prefer that their attorney did it. I think they understand that now. So, I mean, again, it's your call, whatever you all as a board decide to do, but the work has been done.
Right, and I agree. It's like setting a precedence, and as a board member, I try to be consistent, just like when we had one or two bands come and ask for money, and we said, you know what, they're all gonna come ask for money, let's just go ahead and do it for all. So when we start this precedence and we start doing charter school legal work that's not in our budget, then we're gonna have the other charter schools asking for things, that legal services, that I don't feel, so I just feel like setting that up and saying that, you know what, I'm not gonna be the one, we set a budget based upon our legal demand, our legal needs, not the needs of all the charter schools and the state statutes. That's their responsibility. So again, I just feel like somehow and if that's been said this morning in a meeting, that, hey, you know what, that letter should be written by the great. That's a first step in making sure that that's the independent council, not the school board's council.
So maybe if we send them an email, I can send it, if that's appropriate, and say that moving forward, any legal matters should be handled by their attorney, and they should
Well, I mean, I don't
pay
know if
that.
that.
We're gonna have to have protection from
We
our
have
own
to have a
attorney.
lawyer.
Because,
protect us.
because at any time, if things didn't go like they did this morning, I mean, it is what we deem to be a financial deteriorating condition, and we can go to take the school. I don't think that, what I listened to this morning sounded very good. The letter is to try to force, or the hand of DOE to give a clarification, which they don't want to do. They want you to figure it out locally, and then, but somebody some wizard at the top, after the FTE count in October, may come back and say, you guys, we're gonna have to short you $6,000.
And they have a plan. They decided
And they
this
have a
morning,
plan
their
to take
board would
care of
have a plan if that
we will not
happens.
bear the brunt of that. And so I felt better about that. Our involvement with Mr. Douglas is strictly to keep us apprised and to work with them to.
That's what he's done.
Yeah, again, he's done an outstanding job to see if the financial condition continues to deteriorate.
Okay, Mr. Chair, there's a motion on the floor. There's been no second, so how do you want to
All right,
proceed?
motion on the floor, there's been no second. So I guess the item will drop we will not pull it for failure to receive a second. So
Okay, well, I'd like to make a motion that we approve item C7.
I'll second that
All
emotion.
right, we have a motion
That
from Mr.
motion.
Jorgensen.
Second that
A
emotion.
second to approve
Jay.
C7 from Ms.
It's
Crawford.
a song, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Jane's singing it to us. Jane's singing it to us right
Yeah.
now.
Tell how old I am.
Motion, yeah. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Move on, Ms. Jorgensen pulled E2.
And 3, because to me, they look like a duplication, and I think we have to wait for Rhonda on this one. But there's associate
Yeah,
superintendent or
I
something
noticed,
twice.
I
And
noticed
it
that
just
too.
seems to me like we're putting that in there twice because it's 2 separate
So you
change
think it's just a
orders.
typo, Kathy?
No,
Ms.
because it's change
Decubellis,
order
could you
2,
come up and
then-
answer some questions?
Yeah, she couldn't. I talked to
don't
her.
have an answer for that specifically. If it's something that you want to approve, if that is a duplication, it can come back to you at the July meeting to
That'd be
remove it,
fine.
if that would be okay with the
That
board.
would be fine with me. I just want to make sure we're not
Thank you.
inadvertently
Yeah, I printed that
duplicating
out.
something. Yeah, I did too. All right, then I'll make a motion that we approve item E2.
I second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item E2. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The chair votes aye.
Was it E1 and 2?
No, it's 2 and 3.
2 and
Oh,
3.
sorry.
Make a motion that we approve item E3.
Second.
We have a motion from Ms. Jorgensen, a second from Terry Wright. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay, moving right along.
Yes, we are.
Oh, boy, thank goodness. Yes. Let's go on. Still on
Emergency
consent
session.
agenda. go to emergency, let me put us in an emergency session. I've got my packet here somewhere.
You want to use
Let me
mine?
use yours, yes.
Always.
First item on, emergency item is an out-of-state trip for the Palaca High School archery team. Justification explanation item received on the agenda after the agenda was published.
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion from Ms. Cummings, a second from Ms. Jorgensen. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, number 2, Florida Virtual School Franchise Content Agreement, USASS, justification, explanation, time sensitive.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 And the last emergency item I gave to Mr. Douglas prior to the meeting and asked that he hold on to it. It is a request for right-of-way acquisition off the Cricket Avenue, the east boundary of from the county. It's a request from the county to give 35 feet of easement along Cricket Avenue on the east side of the ag farm that serves Palaca High and I guess all of our kids at some time or another. But the county has requested, without any calls or anything, just, and I understand it sounds real easy to them, 35 feet across our line, but there's no, in there, there's no singling out of any type of compensation, any type of rebuilding fences, anything other than just give them the right of way and the easement. They're gonna pave that road, and which for us with kids with livestock down there, that's probably not a good thing, but you know, it's for the people that drive back and to from Silver Lake to the 20, it's a very good thing. But Mr. Douglas is going to work on it because I know there have been times like with the transportation compound, the county charged us impact fees, and he and Mr. Gatchel are gonna get together and see what we can maybe work out and hammer out some details, at least serve notice that, you know, we seem to sometimes come up with the short end of the stick, so.
Could I ask that you also include Ms. Huff, Renee Huff,
Yes.
as you look at the property and let her
I'll
have some input?
be happy to do that.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, that takes us out of emergency session.
We didn't vote on it.
He pulled it.
Oh, it's pulled. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
I was confused.
Yeah, new business, discussing an action on sale of Campbell Building, and I'd like to say a couple of words as we get into this, because there was no old business. But on the, I was pleased to see that we had a bite from the gentleman on the sale of the Campbell Building. My concerns are that I think we're kind of still in the negotiating phase of this, and I would love to see Mr. Douglas continue to try to find some type of common ground in this whole process, and maybe even work with our foundation, you know, and try to work out some type of creative solution to maybe raise our revenue somewhat, and not just jump on the first thing that comes along, but maybe this property owner, you know, will certainly look forward to working with us a little bit longer. So if it's all right with you guys, you go ahead and talk about what you want to do now, but I just wanted to defer it to Charlie if you would like. If you have any different questions or things you
Well,
want.
our first offer was for $300,000 a year ago. And we flat pushed it away and said, oh, we have to go out on bid or publicize it or wherever. And now a year later, we're getting $25,000 less, it looks like. I would sure like to see us get $300,000.
At least.
And maybe, yeah, at least. I wouldn't want to take less than that in light of the fact that we had an offer for that a year ago.
I would like to get a whole lot more than that.
Yeah, that's what I said.
All right,
In the
and
meantime,
I,
we're maintaining and electric and all that,
I
so
get-
it's costing us money.
it costs us money, but I get the market. But for me, we need to get as close to I have a number in my mind, and I'm not going to give it because that's bad negotiating.
I do
So-
too.
So, but yeah, more than what the offer is. I'm with you on that.
I would like if Mr. Paget wouldn't mind to kind of say a little bit about collaborating with the foundation and the sale of this building.
You're welcome to come up and take the microphone, but there are, yes, come on up if you'd like.
Jim McNally could do the same thing.
Charlie can,
Well, either one of them. I don't
Please
care.
identify yourself.
well, I didn't call Mr. Paget. You come on up, but this is just part of
Well,
different creative solutions. that are on the
Yeah, and I
table.
think it's very interesting.
Please identify
Let
yourself.
me just say this,
It's an
Jim Paget,
exciting thing.
sir, Executive Director Paget to you. If there's anything the foundation could do, and I've briefly chatted with Charlie about this and some of you folks, if there's anything we could do to help make a deal, so to speak, we're certainly anxious to be involved to the extent you would like for us to be involved. But there are some tax advantages to dealing with the foundation, advantages which would benefit the buyer and advantages which would benefit the district. And actually, anytime anybody deals with the foundation, it's to the benefit ultimately of the district. So sure, we'd be glad to do or be as involved as you would like us to be, share some thoughts, ideas at Mr. Douglas's convenience.
I just would like to see him get with you and let's continue some dialogue until we find some common ground that we feel comfortable with.
Very good.
I'd like to bring up just a couple little things
Thank
on the
you.
contract. One, and Mr. Douglas said that this is standard, but what we're doing here isn't really standard, so we can do whatever we want, actually. And it says on line 55, check only one, seller at seller's expense, we buy the title insurance, and that can be expensive on a piece of property like this. And I just think we should check buyer pays it. I mean,
Where
I
are
don't see
you?
why not. On the contract for sale or purchase, down on line 55.
Those are all part of what we need Mr. Douglas to continue to.
Well, he has to know if the board wants him to change that.
Certainly.
So,
I'm with you, Kathy.
Yeah.
okay. And then also, line 74, I don't remember what your solution, but this is the assignability. And, we're selling it, and we're kind of concerned about what the buyer's going to do with it. If this is assignable, I would think somebody could come in and do whatever they wanted, as long as it was zoned properly. It was my impression that this board wants to know what's going in. That's part of the deal. So I don't know if there's a solution to the assignability, or if we can put in there, it can be assigned as long as they use it for the same purpose, or...
I will ask. I'm not sure if that is a critical point.
Okay.
Mr. Weeks, we can take it out, or we can put in a provision that if the contract were to be assigned, that it would only be assignable to an entity of which Mr. Weeks had more than 50% control, or some other assurance that if it goes from, for certain tax reasons or things, a business will maybe want to assign a contract to another sister company or umbrella company. That type of an assignment might not be as difficult for the board to accept. But I think what Board Member Jorgensen's concern was that if it were assigned to a completely unrelated entity and the project take a drastically different form than what was presented to you before, that might cause some concern.
Right.
And I can bring that up to Mr. Weeks and see what his thought is about it, and if he'd be willing to remove that from the contract.
You keep working with the foundation and different ones to try to find us some common ground that we're all comfortable with, Mr. Douglas, and we would love to hear back from you.
Okay.
Okay?
Absolutely.
Sounds good.
All right, the next item would be discussion, input, and action on budget amendments for May 2016.
Up until, I don't know how many years ago, 7, say, the budget amendments were on the were like this. And Rhonda used to come up and explain them to us. Then they went on the consent agenda. And I think we put them back like this because we like that explanation. Now, I know Rhonda's not here, so I don't expect it. Great. If you would do that, that's why we pulled it off the consent, just so we can hear about the budget amendments. I would appreciate that, Shannon. Thank you.
Okay, for May 2016, in the general fund, there was a net reduction in the budget of $6,753.18, and that was due to an increase of $5,280, and that was charter school capital outlay money that we received for Children's Reading Center and for Putnam Academy. And then there was a reduction of $12,690, which was a reduction in the fourth calculation FEFP. And then there was some Avid revenue brought in, which was in the amount of $656.82. In the capital projects funds, we had a net increase of $5,280. Again, that was for the charter school capital outlay money. For school food service, we had a net increase of $3,500 for a USDA award that was given to Aquila, Melrose, and Interlochen Elementary School. And for the special revenue funds, internal service funds, and the enterprise funds, there was no change.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon.
You're welcome.
I'll let Rhonda know you said you could answer all her questions. No, I didn't say that. Oh, okay.
I'll make a motion that we, sorry, Nikki,
No.
that we approve the budget amendments as presented.
Second.
I have a motion from Ms. Jorgensen, a second from Ms. Cummings to accept the budget amendments as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. All right, board member reports. Ms. Jorgensen.
We have a meeting scheduled for September 6th, and we also have the Board Docs Conference that day. So in August, well, there's a 3-week gap from September 6th back to the meeting before it. So if we move the September 6th meeting back to August 31st, I believe it is, Sharon, yes?
Oh, that'd
1
be-
week. It's still on a Tuesday.
That'd be great.
And we still have weeks in between meetings. It's not like we're gonna have 2 in a row.
Right.
It'll still be,
2 weeks in between.
so I would like to do that. I think we can do that with consensus. I don't think we need a motion. I have spoken
That
to
would mean I have to
Sharon
miss a
and,
meeting.
yeah, we've spoken to Sharon and Pam about it, so I think it's just consensus if the board is okay with it.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
That sounds
And-
great.
We have a consensus.
Yes. And we approved the code of conduct today, and it's like this, and it's very confusing to me in spaces. I would just like to suggest that next year, 10 months from now, we have a workshop on the code of conduct. I would like to understand it better than I do.
Okay.
And also, we may want to provide some input to the code of conduct. So I just wanted to say that, and I'll put it on my calendar, and I'll squawk about it in 10 months.
And I will say that we did do that with Travis maybe a couple years ago, I remember, and it was very helpful, didn't we?
Yeah, and I haven't
we
been
did.
involved in that
Yeah,
kind
and
of
I-
meeting, so
I
I'd
was
like
3
that.
years ago, and it was good.
Yeah. You were very helpful.
You were incredibly
So
helpful.
super.
Incredibly helpful.
Well, do you want to bring up how much time I spent proofreading that, Travis?
Ms. Crawford.
That's what she
Well, if we
gets for
find
being
any
such a good
problems,
English
we're gonna
teacher.
blame-
Like
And how
you,
boring it was.
Like you, when I was a little boy, she taught me English as well, so I know. Ms. Crawford, you're next. Would you like to give a report?
Well, I would just like to say thank you for allowing me to go to the FSBA conference. It was amazing. Every workshop I attended, I learned something that I think, when we share with the district, it could be very beneficial. It was money well spent. And I'm going to bring up something that may sound a little petty, but I don't care. There are too many emergency items every time we meet. An emergency item should be just that, an emergency item like we're going to send some athletes to a district playoff that we didn't know we were, going to be involved in. Those kinds of things are those kinds of things are emergencies. But it makes a lot of work for Sharon and Pam when we have all of these emergency items to to address. And I just think that we need to share with our principals, to share with their people what our deadlines are, and maybe they could do a little bit better job of trying to meet those deadlines to get these items in. That's all.
Certainly, I will share that with the principals.
Okay,
They have a
just-
meeting on the 28th. Some of these things, though,
Oh,
like.
I
one
know,
of the
they're
things-
emergencies.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
They are
this
emergencies,
County
but
wants something by July 1st, and y'all don't meet again till July 12th. I mean, those kinds of issues that come up. In fact, that, we just got in the mail this week.
well, just like, and I'm not going to call my best friend out, but she's got an emergency item in here. We are going to Myrtle Beach Thursday to the World Archery Championships, and they weren't aware that they had to do it during the summer. So, you could bring that up,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. But some of them aren't really emergencies. They just,
Especially when they're after the fact. After the facts can be at the next meeting. What I object to with the emergency items is when we've got a stack of paper like this sitting here when we walk in the door. and I haven't had
that
the
Sharon and Pam have
opportunity
had to,
Right,
get
and I
to
haven't
us.
read it, but I don't have time to read
Right.
this much while the meeting's going on or before.
I agree.
So that's why I would like to limit them as much as possible.
I've heard this same conversation for years,
That's
and
because
it's,
you've been around too long.
I know, you have to. Anyway, is when they come up with emergency items, it's not to be taken lightly. It is usually serious, and it may be a remiss on the principal's responsibility of getting it in, but they have a lot of stuff that they're responsible for at their work sites, but we can try to do better. So I'm putting this on Shannon to take care of.
yeah, that is not her responsibility.
Okay, are you through, Ms. Crawford? We're just getting started.
No, I'm through.
All right, Ms. Cummings?
I wanted to echo the FSBA conference. It was very informative, inspiring, motivating. One neat thing that one of the keynote speakers, he was passionate about a system that is free to all kids that can't afford. Kids that have cancer, and you don't even think about this.
Well,
but
any illness.
Yes, any terminal illness that would keep them out of school. He has gone cross-country marathons, triathlons, doing these so that kids could interact with their classmates, because they're already, his son had it, and it was back in early 2000s, and he was depressed because he couldn't see his friends because of the immunity problem, everything. So I just wanted to encourage, I'm not sure how to get this out in the community. Dr. Cavella is always wanting to increase cancer awareness in our high schools, but this was one neat program that is free to everybody. HopeCam.com, and I don't know if we could put it on our website.
It's like they were Skyping with their class.
Yeah.
They were at their home, and then the class.
Maybe guidance counselors.
The teachers
I
were
don't know.
teaching, and the kids were interacting with him. It was really amazing.
I just want to make that aware to everybody that it is maybe guidance counselors. So I'm trying to think of who school personnel would know when a child has cancer and cannot come to school, and I'm assuming it would be the guidance counselor, and then just somehow make this available to them.
It may not be public record, or something.
Yeah, but if they're missing 30 days of school, that would be something that the school would be notified.
And if they knew this was available,
Yeah, it's just something simple, but it really, to me, is a neat opportunity for kids to be able to, and as a school board member, I felt
in
like,
addition
how
to
can I?
homebound. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
so I don't know how to spread the word. Maybe if you got any creative ideas. Yes, Ms.
What about ensuring that if all of the caregivers, specifically for cancer, all of in this area
That's
have that?
right. Maybe reach out to the cancer center, and that would be something I would love to. I have the brochures and the notification. Maybe Dr. Cavella, and yeah, that's a good idea. Just because I know a lot
That's right.
go to Mayo
Yeah,
and
his
Baptist.
organization
And,
and the American Cancer Society.
yeah, it's just something that you just don't think about, and it's something and we have students that deal with these things all the time, and it's just something you don't think about the big picture. So
I will say that our students have risen to the occasion over the years to include their stricken classmates in many events and activities that just bring tears to your eyes. So it would just be one more tool that might be of benefit.
Correct, just a neat tool that would be. So that was one inspiring, fun thing to see that this gentleman started a nonprofit and has made hundreds of thousands of dollars based upon that needs of children. And our needs are great in Putnam County as far as financial needs. So I thought, wow, this would be something we could actually help some kids out. So that's all.
Does that conclude your
Yes,
presentation?
I am good.
Mr. Wright?
Yes, sir. Just one reminder to the public, everybody in this room knows this, that even though school is out, many of our teachers and all of our administrators and workers and deans are still working. There's this, again, I think folks sort of have the idea of folks going to education because they get the summers off. That might have been true 50 years ago. It's just not true anymore. And so our folks are still working hard and doing a great job, and appreciate that.
Well, as a kid, as a student, they say you were in summer school a lot, so
I was. Yes, I was.
okay. I'll pass on my report because I've had a long morning. So, Mr. Douglas, your turn.
Thank you, Board Chair. This morning, we met with representatives from EDGE, and they gave us an update on the corrective action plan. One of the items that they are attempting to accomplish that is different than what was on the original corrective action plan is the schedule. And they are trying to make that work with the Department of Education. And if they can make it work, I understand for the temperature of the board is to try to work with EDGE to allow them to accomplish that if it's within the bounds of law. So far, based on the conversations with the representative from Department of Education, we have received no information that the schedule is not in accordance with law, but no one has officially in writing blessed it either. So if the Department of Education comes down in October and says what they have done was incorrect, there are mechanisms in place to help the charter school get back on the 5-day-a-week schedule without too much interruption to the district. So I believe everyone is happy with the arrangement and how the budget will be affected, and not too negatively of a way. Additionally, you'll remember the corrective action plan that you approved included a directive for EDGE to put up for sale the College Road property, and they have done that. They've hired a realtor, and the property is for sale, and they're also in communication with Ameris Bank to try to work out some deal with them on the outstanding mortgage. And they should have something in writing by next week from Ameris's attorney. But the plan B would be to just sell the building. Additionally, you'll remember that one of the largest budget items of EDGE was this curriculum called New Tech. And it is a project-based learning platform. And as of this morning, we learned that EDGE is no longer going to be using New Tech, and that will be a substantial savings for EDGE. Instead, they're exploring other project-based platforms that are substantially less expensive and will help the financial situation of the EDGE board tremendously. And then finally, they discussed the budget, and that should be approved at their next meeting, which will be this Thursday. And from all that we can see so far is that EDGE will be able to pull itself out of the deteriorating financial condition. We are certainly hopeful for that, but as the board's financial or fiduciary responsibility is to make sure that they are fiscally sound and solvent, we're making great strides in conjunction with EDGE to accomplish that. And the other item I wanted to bring up is First Coast Technical. And this morning I had a conversation with Mr. Upchurch, who is the counsel for St. Johns County Schools. And they have been very helpful. Obviously, it's a time of transition for First Coast Tech and the St. Johns County District, and how that affects us and our projects that we have going on with First Coast Technical. And the two school districts are committed to working with each other to make sure there's no interruption in service to our students and the people of our communities. And that is going along very well. And hopefully it will continue to go along just fine, and that we'll see no problems from the fallout of what's going on over there. So that's encouraging. Those are the two main things I wanted to bring up for today, but if there are any other questions, let us know. Obviously, the Campbell Building is something that's on top of the radar, and we will continue working with Mr. Weeks and any other prospective purchasers who would want to make an offer on the building. And hopefully by our next meeting in July, we can have made progress with the other ideas that were mentioned earlier today and have a final sale.
Thank you. Ms. Criswell.
I want to talk about some really neat, positive things. First of all, Nikki Hawthorne, who is our Director of Food Service. I don't know if you all saw this in the paper. She was honored by Rotary Club of Palatka, and she received the Service Above Self Award for her part in launching the Feed the Hungry outreach. It's the weekend snack pack program. And of course, along with that, our own Nikki Cummings was also honored for her part in what she does, a tremendous amount in that snack pack program, but also Feeding the Hungry in Putnam County. The things that she does and her connection with the Jacksonville company that brings a tractor trailer load of food down here. And it's her efforts that have provided that. She works at this tirelessly. She can't stand to see anybody hungry, and that's a wonderful thing. It says a lot about certainly our employees and our board members who are constantly working in the community and doing good things and caring about our Putnam County community. So thank you to them and to all of you for what you do. And the last thing that I had was a press release. It came from the Department of Education from Commissioner Pam Stewart. And Commissioner Stewart held a program June 14th, and the press release says, we often highlight the fact that today's students are tomorrow's leaders, and we cannot forget that the same concept applies to educators throughout their professional career. I commend this year's graduates for taking the initiative to deepen their instructional leadership skills that will greatly benefit their students, and I look forward to seeing them continue to grow in their profession. This is a program that our Commissioner of Education started last year. This is the second year of the program. It is a training program, a leadership academy, and this is for administrators around the state, and it's to develop highly specialized instructional leadership skills. Last year, Tanya Whitehurst participated. This year, J.T. Stout from Middleton Burney Elementary and Michelle Higginbotham from Crescent City High School are the participants and the two graduates this year. So I'm very proud of them. Helen Muir, our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, and Tanya Whitehurst, our Director of Secondary Ed, attended also and participated in many of the meetings and have learned a lot, and that will bring a lot of recognition to us and actually new leadership skills for two of our principals. And she went on to say the Commissioner's Leadership Academy is a tremendous opportunity for education leaders to develop and enhance their leadership skills so they are better prepared to help students excel. And that actually came from State Board of Education member Andy Tuck. He said it was an honor to attend the graduation ceremony, and he encourages more leaders across the state to take advantage of this high-quality program. So just wanted you to know that we participate in all kinds of ways. Helen makes sure that we have required and beyond in professional development for our teachers, and this is one way we can provide that also for our administrators. So I'm really proud of JT and Michelle for participating. They chose to do it, and they did a great job. So thank you very much. And that's all I have for right now. We're working hard with all kinds of things this summer.
Okay, and we have the last of the Children Reading Center Charter School financial statement for February, March, and April of 2016. I think you have those, so there's nothing to vote on, just to let you know they're there. All right, no further ado.
No further what?